downtown Lemoyne. We're on today's episode of PJ and the Beard. We're on a field trip here at BCR Music and Sound with Greg Platzer, that guy that we've known for a very long time, and we're trying not to touch his motorcycle because I'd like to live. So why don't you come on inside and check it out. All right, here we are at BCR Music and Sound with the lovely and talented proprietor, Greg Platzer. And we wanted to talk a little bit about some things he has here in Lemoyne.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is take a quick tour of the store, basically. Let him tell us what's going on, and why you would want to come down to BCR and check out the great stuff he has going on here. So, we're starting at our favorite place. Yeah. Why don't you tell him why this is our favorite corner in the whole store?
Because I'm in it.
Yep.
No. All right, we are a Paul Reed Smith guitar dealer. Paul Reed Smith guitars have been around since the 70s. Paul decided that he wanted to bridge the gap between the traditional Les Paul customer and the traditional Stratocaster customer. His first high-profile endorser was... Actually, his first ever endorser was Brian Forsyth of Kicks. But then Santana was the highest profile early guy, as was... from Heart. Howie.
Howard Leese.
Howie. I'm sorry, Howie. I'm sorry. Howard Leese from Heart, yes. But so PRS guitars are jewels that happen to be excellent musical instruments. And we've been a dealer for several years. I've known Paul since I was little. And they make absolutely fantastic guitars. This would be a custom 2408 in Copperhead and 10 top.
Nice finish right there.
That is gorgeous.
Nice finish right
It has a hybrid hardware, nickel and gold interspersed. Paul looked at one of his watches, and it was two different colors on the watch. And he said, hey, let's do that on the guitars. You hear about 10 tops a lot. There's a little 10 right here on a 10 top, and the 10 denotes exceptional figuring on the top. This is very much, this might even be an 11.
Goes to 11.
Absolutely fabulous guitars. The cool thing about PRS is the company has figured out to the nth degree what it costs and what it takes to make every feature on a guitar. They know exactly how much it costs to hammer fret in. They know exactly how much it costs to paint the edge of this F-hole, whatever. So with that kind of studying of their craft, they have figured out quality control unlike any other manufacturer. As a dealer, we're a premium dealer. We get an awful lot of really cool guitars. These are all custom colors. We get some really neat stuff. There are no defects. When you go to the factory, the most fascinating guys in the factory, and they're all cool, but the quality control guys, they see stuff that nobody else sees. In fact, Paul went through and checked through a guitar, and then QC caught several things he missed. That's pretty impressive. And so another thing about PRS is they've always made beautiful guitars, but their pickups were not very good for a long time, and now their pickups are exceptional. So I used to do a lot of, people would buy a PRS guitar and then we'd swap out the pickups. Now the pickups that are in the guitars are absolutely fantastic. There's a whole bunch of different pickups. So each guitar is kind of aimed at a different genre of music, but you can cross-pollinate all you want. Just absolutely fantastic guitars. Boom, done.
Yep. So we got core models here.
These are core. These are made in the United States. The hardware is American. The wood, they're African mahogany and American maple. This one, the back is really, really nice. You can see the mahogany, just absolutely gorgeous. So PRS has, yeah, isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah.
PRS has three levels, three primary levels. Core, which is what we traditionally know as PRS. Then they have S2. This is an S2 instrument. I'm out of frame. And now I'm back in frame. The magic of television. This is an S2. These guitars are made in the American factory out of the same piles of wood as these, but the parts are imported. And when we say imported, we go, well, what do you mean imported? Well, they have the SE line. These are made in Indonesia. This is the brand new Paul's guitar. and you can always tell the SEs because it'll say SE on the headstock. These guitars are made by Cortec in Indonesia, and they're absolutely magnificent guitars. This particular one has got both of these guys swooning over it. And I'm just going to throw it in the air and see who grabs it.
Cat-like reflexes, you'll be surprised.
Cat-like.
Have you ever seen a garter toss at a wedding? He's going on the ground, and I'm like, it's mine.
I'm usually in a different room.
That's right.
Why are you grabbing for a garter?
I don't know. Well, that's for all the single ladies, and I just came right out. I got attracted by the song. I don't know what happened.
All right, so the SE line.
And we're reeling it in. I haven't had enough of Greg's complimentary coffee yet. I'm still acting a little goofy.
So in the store, in the shop, we got Coors.
Yep.
An
Coors behind the
S2.
counter. Yep.
Off a frame, there is some.
Well, let's
Soon to be on frame.
I'm
Get the
off
gold
frame.
one, yeah.
Yeah, get the gold one down.
I am off frame now.
Probably the most controversial guitar that
In
we
the
talked
history of the
about.
world.
Yeah. that we talked about
All
for a
right.
long time.
So John Mayer became unhappy with Fender. Fender became unhappy with John Mayer. John Mayer went to PRS, and they made a very, very expensive guitar called the Silver Eagle. And then the idea was to come out with an everyman guitar. So they took John's 63 Strat, and they analyzed what about it John liked and what about it he didn't like. And from that came this model called the Silver Sky. And the pickups are all based on the neck pickup on his black 63 Strat. It has a vintage radius neck. The neck is virtually identical to his 63 Strat, but it does have a slightly altered PRS 3x3 headstock. Every part was re-engineered, so these are not off-the-shelf Fender Rebro parts. And the funny thing about this, as Jason alluded to, is the internet went crazy. Every manufacturer has made a Strat-style guitar, but as soon as PRS did it, people lost their minds. And the vast majority of people that lost their minds don't know what they're talking about. So, and I'm going to get mail. But the bottom line is,
Possibly.
if you haven't experienced this guitar and what it's supposed to do, then you don't have an opinion. This is an absolutely magical Strat-style guitar. Is it for every PRS guy? No. But is a single cut for every PRS guy? No. So they really nailed it with this, and they've got a lot of other stuff going on with John. And I'm really looking forward to what else they do. But it's just one of these things where everybody's made a Strat.
Well, and the interesting thing is, this is not the first Strat style guitar PRS has made.
No, they had the
They
EG.
have the EG. They have 3 single coil Strat style guitars,
The DC3.
Yeah.
multiple. But you stick John Mayer's name on it.
And you do
Boom.
this, and you do this. That's where the world... And that was John Mayer's idea to offset the
Right.
headstock.
And I got to tell you, this string not being the longest on a Strat style guitar makes the string tension so much more comfortable for me. I think it's a great guitar, and again, flawless execution. Flawless execution. Nobody does it like PRS. Nobody.
And they've got 5 or 6 colors now at this point.
Yeah, and there's always going to be more. You know, and John will leak the colors before I can get them.
Right.
So don't call me when John posts up a neon green and say, "Hey, do you have any of those yet?" Because no, I don't.
Not yet.
No, John, he's not so good about that. And John, I know you're listening to this.
That's right. He's one of the many...
I'm gonna get mail from John.
It's one for many followers.
He's a big dude too. He's like this tall, so I have to be very careful next time I'm near him because he'll be mad at me.
All right, so I think we flip around and we look at the next stop.
Oh, you meant the camera, right?
Yeah, cameras.
The magic of television.
All right, we're continuing our tour here of BCR Music and Sound. I know, we just got teleported here.
How did this happen?
We walked from there to there, but this is expansive,
Television is cool.
expansive, cavernous thing. Still hanging out with Greg. Going to look at the acoustic lines he carries, and kind of a segue from our last segment to this one.
PRS SE, fabulous. I love that word. This is a fantastic guitar. They started doing these a couple years ago, and when people said, less people lost their minds when PRS started doing acoustics than when they did a Strat style guitar.
Right.
But when PRS started doing acoustics, a lot of people were really excited, and a lot of people just yawned. The American guitars are beautiful guitars. The SEs are excellent musical instruments. This guitar is less than $1,000, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah, you want to see that? Look at that. Oh my goodness.
Took at the back of it.
In the back.
Oh yeah.
Baby's got back.
Sorry, I'm deaf.
Oh my! On the camera, that looks great.
Cool. Well, actually, on PJ it looks great too. But here at BCR, we have PRS, we have Breedlove. Just for the heck of it, here's a $299 Breedlove, and the build quality of these guitars is absolutely magic. I've been playing Breedloves live since 2002, and we also do Takamine. Now, Takamine is a cool company. Takamine, back in the 70s, Yamaha was kicking the crap out of Martin and Gibson with acoustic guitars. So the Martin company went to Japan, and they went through all the guitar building houses, and they settled on two, Mr. Arai's Guitar House and the Takamine Guitar House. And they gave them the specs for a few American guitars. And the Takamine company nailed it. Now, both companies made nylon string guitars up to this point. So Chris Martin showed them how to make acoustic guitars, and Takamine stepped up. So Martin started bringing the Takamine-built guitars into the country with the Sigma brand name, and many of us have had Sigmas in the past.
My first acoustic.
Yeah, terrific guitars. And then what happened is, as the yen dollar and everything moved, they shifted manufacturing to Korea and then Indonesia and whatever with Sigma, and then Sigma went away. But when Takamine was no longer building the Sigma guitars, they just put their own brand on the headstock and started bringing those into the country. My departed friend Roland Stock was actually the first dealer in the United States for Takamine guitars. And nowadays, Takamine is all over the country market. They just make amazing, amazing, amazing guitars. In fact,
Magically,
if you come see me play with Almost Grumpy, my acoustic duo, this is mine. This is a 450 that they made for me. Absolutely fantastic guitar. And here's for those of you that are still watching and haven't gone off to see Ariana Grande, I can't decide if I want to leave the pick guard on or put a plain black guard. So if you're still watching, in the comments,
that's our poll for the
yeah, say, Greg, keep the guard, or Greg, ditch the guard. Because I was thinking about just putting a plain black one on. I think that'll make this look better. I think that's a bit much. Maybe this would go on my girlfriend Sarah's guitar. You know, who knows?
It's possible.
But here at BCR, we actually play this stuff. We don't just sell stuff. So you come out and see us play. We're playing the PRS guitars. We're playing the Takamine guitars, the Breedlove guitars, the Schecter guitars. We'll get to Schecter. And we try not to just jam stuff down your throat. What we try to do is provide you with a bunch of really cool options as to what you want to buy. We let you try everything. It's like a musical petting zoo in here. You can take all day and play anything you want. And then when you decide what you want, then we're going to treat you better than everybody else. Free adjustments for life on every new guitar, and a free lesson with one of our instructors. How can you lose?
Can't lose. Beautiful segue to Schecter.
Yes!
So we've kind of switched locations here, and on the way we were having another kind of sidebar conversation. And so one thing that I want to say is that when you come into a shop like this, that you're going to find it is not full of low-end beginner guitars by companies that
Nobody wants to play.
Well, I mean, companies that we want to play, but we can't see the high-end guitars from that company. It's like all the, bottom shelf kind of. So big, yeah. It's not a big box store, I think is what I'm going at, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Because where we're at right now with Greg, we're standing in a section of the store where we have Schecter, Ernie Ball,
Tagima,
and Music Man. And so you're not finding that. Not only are you only finding basically Fenders and Gibsons at the low end and Epiphones, Squires in the big box stores anymore, is what it seems like. You're not finding Schecter, you're not finding Tagima, you're not finding GNL, you're not finding.
Right.
So, what do you give us a little bit about what's going on in this section?
All right. First thing, Ernie Ball, Music Man. Music Man was started by Leo Fender after he sold the Fender company. In 1964-65, Leo Fender was given a diagnosis that he was going to die, so he sold Fender to CBS Musical Instruments, and the downfall of Fender began. A little while later, Leo got a better doctor. The doctor said, you're not going to die. Leo went, crap. And so Leo started Music Man. Had Music Man for a while, wasn't happy, sold that, and started G&L. So we're a dealer for both of those. I have one Music Man. Ernie Ball Music Man builds a very small number of guitars of very high quality out in San Luis Obispo. That's just fun to say. California. This is a James Valentine model, This is Ball Family Reserve. Basically, top Ernie Ball dealers, what we do is we go out to the NAMM show and they will have prototypes of various BFR guitars, and then we order the ones we want, and they only build the numbers that we want. So if they limited this to 25 and only 12 are ordered, then only 12 are produced. In this case, I think it was 50 on this model. It's super light, and the regular Valentine is a smoking cool guitar, has nickel or chrome hardware and dots, but this, being Ball Family Reserve, has the bound board, the crowns, the sickest maple you've ever seen in your life. I mean, that is brutal. It weighs nothing. It sounds fantastic, and there's only 49 other ones other than the one I'm holding. I could be wrong. There might be 30, there might be 60, but it's a very, very small number of guitars. Feel how light that is.
And bass players
love them. Oh, Ernie Ball.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
the Stingray. The Stingray revolutionized bass in the early 70s, and they're actually recreating them exactly again, except without the weight. They were always very heavy instruments. I had one as a kid, and I'd be a lot taller right now if I hadn't had that bass. Now, when it comes to G&L, the company that Leo was with when he died, it was George and Leo. George Fullerton was his shop foreman, I believe, with Fender. And what they did was they set out to do everything that they did with Fender better. And they did. Their legacy guitar is the iconic Strat, and the internet did not go wild when these were made. Segue.
Go figure.
The tremolo pivots on 2 points instead of 6. It stays beautifully in tune. They make their own pickups. These guitars are made out in Anaheim, Fullerton, California, where Fender was made. Absolutely magnificent guitars, and to get a handmade guitar in the United States for that price is just silly. And their finish work is amazing. What I don't have is one of their glitter guitars, but they shoot some of the sickest glitter you've ever seen. And the metallics and the solid colors and stuff are sprayed in one room. The glitters are sprayed in a totally separate room. And somewhere, I'll have to email you this picture that I took out there at the factory, but everything has this much glitter paint on it in that room. It is the craziest looking place ever. But fantastic Fender style guitars done by the Fender guy, better than Fender. And less pricey. Now, Schecter. When you come see me play, I have a couple PRSs, but most often I'm holding a Schecter. David Schecter started the Schecter company making parts a billion years ago, and it's gone through a couple of owners. And Schecter right now, I believe, makes the best USA guitars for guys like me. I like vintage Gibson guitars, and Schecter makes brand new guitars that feel, sound, and taste like vintage Gibsons. Now, the common perception of Schecter is heavy metal guitars for 14-year-old kids, and that happens a lot. But Michael Ciravolo, who runs Schecter and who happens to be a really good guy, guitar player in Gene Loves Jezebel, and just released a record called Beauty in Chaos. Really good record. But Michael gets it. Michael's a guitar player. Michael's not some idiot with a tie sitting behind a big square desk. So Michael and I have talked for years, and I've pushed him into the more of a modern vintage sort of direction, in addition to the stuff that's made them good. And so we're getting guitars like this, which you can see me play on stage, or this is the PT Custom, and it's based on the tried and true PT model, but with a set neck, 3x3 headstock. They make their own pickups. Their pickups are magnificent. In fact, I've got more Schecter pickups in my guitars than I have any other brand. 2 guys upstairs at the factory in Burbank are making these, and they're magic. They make all kinds of different pickups. My girlfriend has a 52 reissue Tele that's got great wood and had crap pickups. We put their vintage Tele pickups in. It's magnificent. So, Schecter also is not ignoring the beginner. In fact, Schecter does a lot of things a lot of companies don't do. Schecter makes almost every one of their multiple body designs in left-handed and in colors. When a guitar company makes a left-handed guitar, let me turn the AC off. There we go. when a guitar player or a guitar company makes a left-handed guitar, invariably they make it in black. Then they can use any sort of wood that they want and blah, 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 blah. And so lefties play black guitars. Schecter makes a lot of their guitars in left-handed in multiple colors and stuff. And that kind of investment in that market segment means a lot to guys like me, and hopefully it means a lot to everybody else. Look at this, $299, and look at this guitar.
Nice
They
guitar.
want your first guitar to be a terrific guitar. Now, we talked about the junky beginner guitars with the Evil Empire. We have a lot of lower priced guitars because if you don't build a customer base, eventually your customer base will die off or lose interest. So we're continually trying to get new players in. But the ironic thing is, I sell a lot of these to accomplished players that they want to bring a guitar to work and they want to leave it in the trunk of the car. They want to have a guitar over. So let's say I invite Jason over and I have one of these and I'll let Jason play it, or I'll let him play the vintage Les Paul and I'll play this. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on with guitars. Right now, when we were kids, we're all about the same age. When we were kids, you had junk guitars and you had fantastic guitars, and there was a huge divide between the two. Nowadays, even inexpensive guitars are very well-made guitars. And the expensive guitars are magnificent guitars. It's a great time to be a guitar player. It really is.
So,
Did I talk too much?
No, never know. I think before we move on,
Oh, Tagima.
yeah, I'm going to pull this down because Pat and I should be waiting. Pat and I recently did a little show. So there's another episode on the
Tagima.
Tagima. We said it wrong, apparently. Guitar.
It's okay. You say whatever you want.
What is this? What are you selling this for?
I don't know.
I want to say it was like $239.
$239, I think. Yeah.
$239 Jazzmaster style guitar right here.
With Gibson style PAF or P90s
P90s in it.
and a cool little
Veritone.
5-way baritone.
Sounds great. Plays great. The person that we had over to try out this guitar and kind of put it through the worship, praise and worship tones, when we told him it was at like $240 guitar, he was kind of like, what? Never would have guessed.
It's mind-blowing. It's a Brazilian company run by a Japanese guy named Ney. And Ney is a terrific fella, and he is very, very quality-centered. And they're doing variations on a lot of neat stuff. Like here's their Stratocaster-style guitar. These are $159. And it's got excellent tuning machines. The pickups sound great. And I got to tell you, I can't paint a guitar candy apple red for $159. Here's a whole guitar for that. And look, ooh, look,
Yeah.
So fantastic. And in a world where everybody's trying to get more and more and more for their products, this company comes along and they are giving us ridiculous quality at such a low price that all the other guitar manufacturers are going, how are they doing that? And this is going to benefit the consumer.
Right. So yeah, nice, very nice.
And they make them handmade in Brazil. This being one, I was at the Nashville NAMM
That's why I
show.
was just looking for that.
Yeah, I was at the Nashville NAMM show, and they had this, but it had a white pearl guard on there, and it looked awful. So I had them send me a black guard, and I put the black guard on, and I think I'm just going to keep this. Really, really, really terrific guitars.
I like that flake. Or,
Yeah, that's-
the metallic.
Ooh, ooh. And feel how light it is. It's very balanced,
Yeah.
and it roars. Neat stuff.
So-
I love neat stuff.
He said it roars, so I think the next logical option would be to figure out how to make these things roar. So let's go check out what kind of
Schecter, custom made for me. They'll do that. I said, hey, you know what I want? I want a crazy 80s guitar with a P90 in the neck. And I told them exactly what they wanted, and they gave me exactly what I wanted. And feel how light that is.
Oh, yeah.
That's Empress.
That's light.
Yeah.
That's light.
Neat stuff.
Let's go figure out how to make them roar.
All right, continuing on with our tour here at BCR Music and Sound without even looking. I didn't even look at the cue card. We're back into, we talked about what makes these things roar. Greg brought over his favorite custom-made 80s style color, and he's going to show us a couple of the offerings. Maybe how about you tell us the whole line first, and then we'll focus in on these two.
In amplifiers, we have Paul Reed Smith, Vox, Supro, Orange, we're one of the top 10 Dr. Z dealers. Absolutely magnificent amplifiers. We got a bunch of used stuff. And we're also dealers for the most wonderful Kemper Profiler. And Soul Tramp, which is a handmade amp company out of Maine. One guy, a guy named Don, who's amazing. We have amps starting at a little over $100 and going up into the many thousands. Not that everybody needs either one of those. But the cool thing about amps is technology has gotten to the point now where just about any sound you can imagine can be recreated very quickly. We also have pedals we have everybody. I mean, we've got everybody. We've got Barber, we've got TC, we've got Boss, we've got Electro Harmonics, blah, 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 blah. Stomp Underfoot. Oh, my God, yeah. So essentially, if you can think of a sound, we can help you get it through various combinations. And the beautiful thing is you can come up with sounds on your own that nobody's ever heard of that are completely and utterly your own. For amplifiers, one of my favorite new amps is the MT15 by Paul Reed Smith. This is a Mark Tremonti designed amplifier. It's all tube. It's got two 6L6s for the power section, which on a 15-watt amp, you tubies out there know that that's a very big tube for a very low wattage amp. And what that does is gives you a dynamic range that just blows away everybody else. So Mark was very particular about the clean sound. You can make any amp sound good just by distorting the crap out of the signal. But the clean sound on this amp is just absolutely wonderful. That's through a single 12 speaker. We love to pair it with the single 12 PRS cabinet, but we happen to be out of those right now. So this is an orange single 12. Just real lush, sweet, no reverb, no nothing. That's just the amp, and it sounds great. And then the cool thing is when we go to the overdrive, everything turns red. Kind of cool.
You go from Sunday jazz brunch to my parents did me wrong.
So it's a very, very versatile amp. They worked quite a while on it, and as typical with PRS, once they introduced it, no flaws. Fantastic
I flashed
stuff.
this up earlier, but that's pretty amazing.
That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And then the other thing that we have that just blows my mind is the Kemper Profiler. Now, there is a bunch of noise about modeling amps and profiling amps and this, that, and what have you. Let's just talk about that for a brief second. Line 6 and Johnson were doing modeling, and what a modeling amp does is you're asking essentially computer software to duplicate the signal path on a vintage tube amp, and it doesn't work. You can get close, but the Line 6 AC30 doesn't sound like a real AC30, and it doesn't feel like an AC30. What Kemper did was they approached it differently. When you they use the profile of an amp, and what you do is you put a microphone in front of an amp, you run it through various very particular sort of machinations, if you will, and then when you plug into it later, it recreates what it learned. So what you're doing is you're actually profiling what the amp does, not what it's trying to be. And as a result, you get a very realistic, very interactive, very inductive sort of thing. I used one at a gig 2 weeks ago, and I could not believe it. With my eyes closed, I would have sworn I had a Marshall half stack behind me with a 5150 for leads and a Bogner Ecstasy with a chorus on it. And it was actually the Kemper Profiler through a single 15 cabinet. My girlfriend uses one live, and every sound man just cannot believe how good this thing sounds. The beautiful thing is the company's very, very, very proactive. They keep doing updates and coming up with neat stuff, and everybody that has one gets all the updates for free. It's not like some companies where they'll make a product and then down the road they'll say, oh, well, we've updated our product, and if you give us more money, then you can. No, these guys are like, hey, look what we did. Want to have some fun? So I have this set on a very 80s. Silliness. But then I can go to something like, and I should have planned this, but I didn't. But there was a 1962 Deluxe. It's cool. That's just cool.
Mm-hmm. Could hear a little bit of the reverb at the end there. That's great. Yeah.
And it's the right reverb. I mean, it's yeah. And there's a fella named Michael Britt down in Nashville. He is the guitar player for a band called Lone Star, and he is magnificent at profiling amps. And when I played out with the one I was using Michael Britt profiles. And we're going to see a whole cottage industry in profiles. In fact, the Dr. Z company you can get their factory profiles of their amps. So if you have Dr. Z's and you go Kemper, you can still use the Dr. Z's because they oversaw the profiling of their very own amps. So they sound exactly the way they should. And hopefully we'll see more and more companies jumping on that. There are all kinds of amazing tools that musicians can use nowadays. What we try to do is try to get the ones that have the most utility for the best price. And the days of just blowing money on gear are long gone. Now everybody's very, very cautious about how they buy stuff. They're very particular about what they want and stuff. And what we do here is we listen. And if we don't have what you want, we'll look for it. And if we have something we think is going to work for you, we're going to recommend it to you. But we're not into selling stuff. We're into you buying stuff from us. And I'm celebrating 25 years here in a couple weeks. And you don't stay in a shrinking industry for 25 years without having fantastic customers. And the way you get fantastic customers is you value them and you listen to them. And that's what we're trying to do here. We want you to come in. We want you to hang out. We want you to drink our coffee. And we want to learn from you. And if there's something that if several people say, hey, I want brand X, we'll bring it in. Because some of the lines that we have, like Schecter, we had people asking for Schecter, and I wasn't even interested because I thought they were a heavy metal company. And yeah, and now they're making really cool guitars for me, and they're friends of mine. So it's a fascinating industry. It's a great time to be in this industry. Nobody's getting rich, but we're having a great time.
Wrapping up here today, but not really, because we have yet to really step back and talk about the repair work and some of the other things and a little bit of the history of BCR. So we're going to do that, but that is going to be coming out later. So if you want to see that, subscribe to the video, check like, all that, and come back.
Us.
And before I turn it over to Pat, in my hands, this would probably be, for me, let's get that up nice and close, one of the finds of the day, PRS.
Special 22.
Special 22, 3 pickups, semi-hollow body, split the coils, 5-way or 3-way? 5-way toggle?
5-way and a narrow field humbucker in the middle.
So essentially I could get 3 single coils and 5 positions.
And reverse gear and slice dice julienne. That's based on the John Mayer guitar that we talked about earlier, the Silver Eagle.
Yeah, okay, so based on this first
That's
one.
where that came from, that whole thing.
So with that...
Yeah, with that, we want to thank Greg for his time. And we've enjoyed our visit here to BCR Music Sound and here in beautiful downtown Lemoyne. And I am Patrick on behalf of PJ. Who am I? My gosh.
Who are you?
Start that over again.
You're Patrick on the...
I'm Patrick on behalf... I'm PJ. That's me. Look, I'm right here. On behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear. Peace out from Lemoyne.
No feedback, no nothing.
No, usually we end with some crazy talk, laughing.